Hi, and welcome to the Beauty Room with April. In the Beauty Room, I'm afforded the opportunity to have some wonderful conversations with some phenomenal people. And this new episode is not the exception. I'm talking with my friend Tia J. Williams. We're talking about several things, but emphasis focused on her business, the Luxe Collective. And yeah, so get you a seat, get whatever you need before you press play because you don't want to miss this conversation. All right, bye. All right, welcome, Tia. How you
Hello.
doing today?
I'm well. Thank you so much for having me. Super excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm so glad to have you. So I've already done the introduction of you, but I
hmm
want you to tell everyone who Tia Williams is.
All right. So I can tell the people. So I
Yeah,
am, first and foremost, a child of God. I promise to always give him glory no matter what we're doing. So that's first and foremost.
yeah.
I am his child. I am a wife of, this year will be 15 years.
Oh Lord,
Oh, Lord,
that
yes.
long?
Yes, that long. We'll be 1-5 in December, right? So that I'm a mom of two beautiful girls, Jalen Jordan, 11 and 9. I'm a businesswoman, a registered nurse, all the things. So I'm
Yeah.
just, here to share my story with you. And can we first, I want to say how proud of you I am first before we even go
Thank you.
any further, just for being obedient to what
Yeah,
God has called you to do
yeah.
and stepping out on faith, because I know it's not easy, but
Joy.
you're doing it. And so I
Thank
just want to say I'm
you.
so proud of you.
Thank
But
you.
that is a little bit about who I am.
Yeah, and you said 15 years. I was like, ooh, it just don't seem like that long. And
Yeah.
then Jordan and Jayla being, would you say 9
And
and what?
11.
Ooh,
And
woo.
and that will be 10 and 12 this year.
Oh wow.
Yes,
Oh
yes,
wow.
yes,
But you
yes.
been hanging in there, huh?
Hanging, girl, hanging. Sometimes felt like by a thread,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
But
grace
you
of
said you're
God.
an RN and you're also a businesswoman. So
Yes,
you went into entrepreneurship, right?
absolutely.
As an RN. What
hmm
made you do that?
You
Like
know,
what made you want to be an entrepreneur?
I feel like the entrepreneurial spirit has always been on me, right?
Mm,
We can go back to the HHS days, right?
yeah,
I was thugging it out with my bag, my goodies in the
yeah,
classroom. You know what
yeah,
I'm saying? So,
yeah.
like, I feel like I've always had it on me. As a
Mhm,
child, you don't know what that is. But I feel
mm-mm,
like that was really the catalyst of entrepreneurship, right?
mhm, mhm,
And I think it blossomed. And for a long time, I think I ran from it.
mhm,
But now, like moving into my purpose, really understanding who I am, what I'm supposed to be doing,
mhm.
entrepreneurship is that for me. And
Yeah,
so once I answered the call, it's a no brainer. And I'm even more clear now in this season
mm,
about that. And so I'm just being obedient, and whatever God has in store, I'm welcoming it, but you got to be obedient first. And
yeah,
so I basically answered the call is what it was.
yeah,
And it's
yeah,
flourishing into, a really beautiful thing. And I'm just so excited to see like what happens and what God does with it.
yeah. I'm excited too. But before we jump into your business, your current business,
Yes,
I want to go
yes.
back to the HHS days.
Ah, hola.
You said what were you selling in the
Girl,
classroom?
what
Like
I had?
what
I
business?
had the chips, had a little Capri Sun, honey. I had Miss Barnwell's class, actually where I met
Yeah,
my
yeah,
husband. And
yeah.
my husband was a customer, right? So throw that in there. He was one of my first customers, okay?
Yeah,
So been supporting.
yeah,
Candy, anything you can get in bulk, I had. And as a
yeah.
matter of fact, now that I think about it, it didn't even start in Huntington. It started in middle school at
Oh,
Turner,
really?
and I got in trouble because they was hating. They said you couldn't
What?
sell on the school grounds, and they
Uh,
wanted me to give my money to the school.
for what?
Yeah.
Like donated to the school?
Yes, they wanted the profits to be donated to the school because I didn't know,
Yeah,
I'm just trying to get some bucks.
yeah. That's
And I
it.
remember they wanted my profits to be donated to the school, and my mom was like, absolutely not. Like, if
Right.
you can't show me something that says that what she's doing is wrong,
Mm-hmm.
then there will be no way that we're doing that. And so at
Yeah.
the end of the day, we just came to a deal. They said, stop it.
Mm-hmm. And
And
you
you can
stop.
keep your coins. But, I mean, we're talking 11, 12 years old,
Yeah.
$200, $300 at that time.
Yeah.
Like, I was rolling in the
You was
deep.
making, yeah, you was making good money.
Good, some good
Selling chips
money.
and candy.
Yes.
Selling chips and candy.
Yes,
That's
the
what's
chips and the
up. And
candy.
and I didn't know it started back in middle school.
It did. Now that I'm thinking about it, yes.
Yeah.
Got called to the
Yeah.
principal's office.
Call to the principal. They want you to
Called to
donate
donate
because
my
you're working
coins.
harder than the PTA.
Thank you. Right? You know?
That is funny.
And I could
That
go
is
into a
really
whole
funny.
long bit about that, because I feel
Yeah,
like once we get a leg up,
that's true.
trying to be pulled
That's
down.
true.
So even if you
That's true.
think about it from that perspective, that's no
Yeah,
different. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
Because that could have been an opportunity to discuss entrepreneurship. Well, this
Mm-hmm.
is the right
Absolutely.
way to do it, right? Perhaps
Mm-hmm.
you should have gotten permission. Oh, but how about this? Can we help you to enhance and do X, Y, and Z? But
Right,
instead, it was just like a absolutely
right,
not. We're not
right.
doing this, right? But we
Yeah,
see that in society now. When you
yeah.
we
You're
get
absolutely correct.
2 steps ahead, you got the people pulling you
Yeah.
down. And so I think now that I'm thinking about all of that early
Mm-hmm.
on, that was a lesson learned for now. Like you have to just keep
Yeah.
pushing forward.
Yeah. And you said it when you said that it could have been a teachable moment. Because you're
Absolutely.
already in school, it could have definitely
Absolutely.
been a teachable moment. You mentioned about your girls, 9 and 11, they'll be 10 and 12 this year.
Mm-hmm.
Like, have you talked to them about entrepreneurship? Have y'all even talked about
Oh,
what they want to do when they get
absolutely.
older? Uh huh.
Absolutely. So there are a few different things that they're interested in,
Mm-hmm.
but they are many entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And I know we'll get into Lux Life in a minute, but
Mm-hmm.
my baby now with Poise, they've been with
Uh-huh.
me every step of the way.
Uh-huh.
And in fact, maybe 2 months ago, they entered into an entrepreneurial competition
Uh-huh.
there was a chapter here who was doing a
Mm-hmm.
competition for young girls, and they
Yeah.
won first and second with their own
Really?
ideas, their own projects. They had to pitch, present it, and they won. So they are very much aware that they can be in charge of their own destiny if they
Mm-hmm.
choose to. But Jayla's super, super, both of them are super, super talented, super smart.
Yeah.
She's really heavy into anatomy and physiology. Like, she was 4 years old asking for an anatomy puzzle. So she, for sure, I can see her going into medicine easily. Like, that's her
Mm-hmm.
baby, that's her thing. She's on
Mm-hmm.
apps all day. Jordan is my fashion house.
Mm-hmm.
Like, can dress herself, has been doing it since she was 2.
Mm-hmm.
And she's really good with cosmetology as well. Like,
Mm-hmm.
she has her own little studio upstairs where she's
Okay,
braiding
Jordan.
now, right? I was like, girl, come on, get these braids because that's expensive too.
Yeah, yep.
And you can braid mama up, but I've let her practice on me, ponytails, things like
Yeah.
that. So she's really into fashion and cosmetology. But they also are young actresses.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a momager also.
Yeah.
Jayla's been in a movie, they've done commercials. So there's
Yeah.
just like so much that they can do. And what I will say about that is they do a lot because we allow them to. We
Mm.
let
Mm.
them into rooms where they may not have otherwise had the opportunity. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that my husband and I both, we know that exposure is important.
Right,
So
right.
we try to just cultivate whatever they're into and then allow them the opportunity later to make the decision as to what they want to do. But as far as talent, I
Yeah.
mean, they could do a lot. So
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
long answer to say not
Yeah.
necessarily one thing because they're
Mm-hmm.
into so much and they do well at a lot of things.
Right, right.
Yep.
Yeah. But let's back it up because you mentioned poise, but I
Hmm.
want to talk about your company name. So your
Yeah.
business name is Luxe Life Collective, right?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
talk about that. You
Yes.
mentioned poise, but just
Hmm.
talk about the company in general.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
the Lux Life Collective really came about from my own journey, right?
Mm,
Trying to balance it all, being the
mm-hmm,
super mom and the
mm-hmm,
wife, businesswoman, still registered nurse, in administration. Now I'm corporate, but all of that can be a lot, right? And
Mm.
so I live by my calendar. If it's not on my calendar, it's probably not gonna get done. But what happened
Oh yeah,
is
I see you.
yes, what started to happen is I was having all these conversations with other moms, other women, whether it was at
Hmm.
the beauty shop, and you know how we get, at the beauty salon,
Yep.
whether it was there, whether it was on the phone, and it was just these deep conversations that I kept having in different circles, but they all just kept having the same recurring theme. And
Hmm.
so I really just built a platform for a safe space for women to come together with growth mindsets, anything that is building on growth, elevating your mindset, working on your marriage, nurture relationships. That's what
Hmm.
the brand is about. And the Luxe Life is really like when you hear it, it sounds like, oh, this is material. It's luxe. Now, don't get me wrong. We like a good fashion moment, and we like nice over here,
Yeah, yeah.
but it's not the essence of the brand. The brand
Hmm.
really is about living with intentionality and
Hmm.
purpose and really just understanding who you are and moving in that space. And that's really the true being of what the Lux Life Collective is.
Yeah, and that's good to know because that's the first thing I thought.
Mm-hmm.
Like luxury life,
Mm-hmm.
what's the name of the show? It was a show that was based out of New Orleans. Like a reality show.
Which one? Oh, you know what?
Um,
I think my friends were on it. Southern Charm.
yeah, yeah.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah.
that's sort of what I thought about, just the name in general, like a
Mm-hmm.
luxury life.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad that you clarified that because and that's a great initiative that you have going on, because it's very necessary. Um
Absolutely.
so you're not just kid specific because your last
Correct.
event, this event you
Mm-hmm.
just recently had was with mothers and daughters, or was it just
Correct.
kids specific?
So, and then I'll back up just a little bit. So,
Uh-huh.
Lux is the umbrella,
Okay.
right?
Okay.
Poise is a piece of that.
Got it. Okay.
We'll also have digital products. I'm working on a book right now that drops next
Mhm.
month.
Okay, good.
So, yes. So, there are many different like out avenues to Lux.
Hmm.
The Poise puberty parties is a small percentage of what the Lux Life is,
Got
right?
it. Got it. That
And
makes
again, going back to like luxury can mean a lot of different things to a lot of people, but for us, it's all of it. It is the fashion,
sense.
it is the mindset. Because what we tell our girls, and honey, my husband, like, he ain't checking for them to leave his house looking raggedy. I don't care if they're going to the grocery store. He's always like, "Where's your look?" Right?
Yeah.
Because when you look good, you
Yeah.
feel good. And when you
Yeah.
feel good, you can perform better. You can show up
Yeah.
better. So all
Hmm.
of that is wrapped into the Lux brand.
Hmm.
And the Poise Luxury Puberty Parties is a part of that.
Yeah. And I totally agree with that. I, it's not that, of course we don't want our girls, we don't want to leave home looking homeless.
Correct.
Did I say it right? Like, I'm
Yeah.
no offense. You
Well,
get what
I
I'm saying?
understand. Yes,
But
yes, yes.
just leaving home and being a representation of your home, basically.
Right.
You get what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? Being
Absolutely.
just a positive representation. And I don't ever think I've seen your girls, just not put together. You
Yeah,
get what I'm saying? And I admire
absolutely.
that because what I know is that your girls, I'm sure of it, that y'all are raising them to live a luxury lifestyle, so to speak, but
Mm-hmm.
also humility.
Absolutely.
You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
How some
Absolutely.
people are live the luxury lifestyle and you can't even have a conversation with them. You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'll speak to that, right? Because um, my husband and I do differ a little bit in this regard, right? Because
Hmm.
they are raised very differently than how my husband and I were raised. I
Okay.
come from a single parent home. His mom passed away when he was 4. He was raised by his
Hmm.
grandmother. We did not grow up how our children are growing up. And we
Hmm.
often joke and say, we wish we could be y'all's kids. Like, because we've just been blessed to be able to give them way more than what we had.
Mm-hmm.
Now here's where we differ. Sometimes he likes to have it to where I don't want to say a struggle bus mentality, but for instance, he jokingly told my 11-year-old, that she would get a hoopty when she was 16.
Mm.
And she didn't know what a hoopty was. I said, Google it.
Mm-hmm.
Broke her little heart. And I said, here's what we're not going to do. We're not going to raise children to believe that you have to struggle.
Mm. Absolutely.
I don't agree with that. If we
Right.
have it to give, to your earlier point, you will be mindful and you will understand that this comes from hard work, that we are
Mm-hmm.
fortunate, that we are blessed, but you're not going to have to struggle because we're not
Right.
struggling.
Right.
And when their kids come, I want them to be doing better than them. Like each generation should be doing better than the next.
Absolutely.
When you know better, you do better. You teach
Yep.
better. And so in that regard, the luxury lifestyle, they definitely are afforded privileges, but
Mm-hmm.
they are so humble and grateful.
Right.
Even when we present things to them, my oldest one usually has a moment. She's usually in tears if it's something major that we're
So
giving to them,
sweet.
literally. And so they know that it's through God, it's through hard work and the ability for us to be able to provide for them. So, I don't subscribe to the struggle bus mentality, but we're not
Right.
raising privileged kids who don't
Right.
appreciate what we're giving to them.
Right. And I totally agree with you. We don't have to I'm the same way. Like I don't think that you have to struggle. You
Mm-hmm.
get what I'm saying? Like we don't have
Hmm.
to keep repeating that you know what I'm saying, like that mentality. Like
Right.
we need to cut it off.
Absolutely.
If we're creating generational wealth, generational blessings,
Right.
we don't have to send them through the generational curses.
Absolutely.
Blessings. Like if
Absolutely.
our position is to create legacy and
Correct.
to break that off of them, they don't have to experience here. Look, here's a book.
Yeah.
Like this is the
Yeah.
history. This here are some pictures of your grandparents or whoever who went
Right.
through that. However, that's not something that we have to send them through. And I appreciate you even saying that because
Absolutely.
just to see people say my kids gonna have to get it out the mud, not mine.
Mm-mm.
If that works for you and yours,
No.
by all means, but not
And
mine.
why? Haven't we struggled enough
Right,
as a
right.
people?
Yeah, yeah,
Why would we continue to want to struggle?
absolutely.
You know what I mean? It doesn't even, to me, go back to what our forefathers wanted for us.
Right.
You hear the phrase, we are our ancestors' wildest dreams.
Yeah,
Well, they weren't dreaming for us to continue to struggle.
they weren't.
So if they weren't dreaming that and we are in the dream, then I think it's very important that we're representing that dream
Right,
well, right? And it's with
right.
dignity, it's with respect, with honor, and humility, right? And so I think
Yeah,
all of those things, as long as we are teaching our children where it comes from and they know the history, I think that if it's done right, they will appreciate it even more.
right, right. And I was just thinking about like that has been on you since I've known you. Like
Mm-hmm.
and I keep saying the luxury lifestyle, but that's just what it is, and it's absolutely nothing wrong with it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you have always had a progressive mindset.
Mm-hmm.
Like your very first vehicle. Uh, your very first vehicle was that Saturn, right?
It was.
Yeah, that Saturn. But you were determined to get that Lexus.
I was
You
determined.
were determined to get that Lexus, and you got that Lexus. You get what I'm saying? But
Mhm.
I'm laughing, but not like it's not a comical thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm just
Mhm.
kind of thinking about just the process of it all, and you were
Absolutely.
determined. So I don't expect anything less than when it comes to
Right.
you raising your children.
Mhm.
And it's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I just it's kind of disheartening
Mhm.
when people can't see beyond a Saturn. There's nothing wrong
Mhm.
with Saturn. You drove it. That Saturn got us from
I
Shreveport to
drove the wheels
Grambling.
off for that
Yeah,
Saturday. Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? It's nothing wrong with that, but it is disheartening not seeing beyond, or not knowing that, hey, you can have this lifestyle too. This lifestyle is not limited to
Mm-hmm.
any race. You get
Mm-hmm.
what I'm saying? Like
Right. Absolutely.
any specific culture, you
Nope.
can live this lifestyle, and you can also have this lifestyle for your children. And I
Mm-hmm.
want to go back to you said the puberty party was
Mm-hmm.
under Poise, and
Mm-hmm.
Poise is under the umbrella for the Luxe Collective, right?
Correct.
The
Mm-hmm.
Luxe Life Collective.
Correct. Yep.
So I'm scrolling on social media and I'm looking at the preparation process. I see Gucci.
Mm-hmm.
I see what else did I see? Did I see
YSL.
Chanel?
You said a little YSL. We had Tory Burch. Luxury creams, all the things, because you can't have a luxury party without luxury items.
That part. And when I saw that, I was like, what? And not in a way where like you're doing too much. Not like that. But
Mm-hmm.
you have always created an experience and invited
Mm-hmm.
people in the experience. You get what I'm saying? Like it's one
Absolutely.
thing to create an event and you just have like little blow pops. You get what I'm saying? Like make
Mm-hmm.
makeup bags where everything comes from the Dollar Tree, Target, or Walmart. But
Mm-hmm.
just seeing the process of it, you invited those girls into a luxury experience. What how does your girls inspire that
Ooh,
part? Like as you were preparing for the event.
so going back to the beginning for how it was created, period,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
The POISE is an acronym for preparation, opportunity, inspiration, self-esteem, and empowerment, right?
I like that.
All the things. So that's
Yeah.
what poise is. I knew early on that once I had the girls, that
Mm-hmm.
I wanted their experience going into puberty to be vastly different from mine
Yeah.
because I was not prepared.
Yeah.
And to my point earlier about talking to different women, especially in our generation, I started to see
Mm-hmm.
a common theme in that most of us were not prepared.
Yeah.
And looking back on it, I just knew I was going to do something special for them that
Yeah.
would make them remember it in a positive way, as opposed to feeling like it was something that they had to hide or something that they could not feel open enough to talk about.
Yeah.
So from that, I ended up doing the initial party with a group of moms. It went over so well. The little girls left just feeling so empowered and ready,
Mm-hmm.
um, that people started asking, like, when is the next one? Initially, there was not going to be a next one, but then I
Mm.
heard God speaking, like, no, this is
Yeah.
what I'm calling you to do under your umbrella. So
Yeah.
that's where it came about in terms of me wanting to make sure that they did not have the experience I had, but have a better one going forward. And what that is, going back to like the generational curses, right?
Yeah.
When I talked to my mom about it, she just said it was something that they just didn't talk about.
Right.
And of course, if they're not talking about it, her mom didn't talk about it to her. Well, my grandmother's mother certainly likely did not have the conversation. And so it's at what point do we stop? At what point do we change the dynamic and shift the
Yeah.
conversation? And so that's really how it was birthed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now the luxury experience part is because Maya Angelou has a quote that a lot of people say, you don't remember, she said, you don't remember necessarily what people say or
Mm-hmm.
do, but people will remember how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And so for me, I wanted to invite these young ladies into a space that was looks because I wanted
Mm-hmm.
them to leave feeling that way. And
Mm-hmm.
I also want them to know that these are things that when you work hard, this is
Right.
not insurmountable, right? You can
Right.
have these things if you put the work in. And so
Right.
it's just about creating a space where when people leave, they feel good. And that's the basis for what I always want to do. I want to leave a mark to where if I'm not in the room, people will speak positively about me and not
Right.
negatively.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I was like, maybe this right here, he went all the way out. But I don't want to take for granted that everyone knows what puberty is.
Right.
So talk about puberty and why
Yes,
that was so important for you to put such emphasis on it for your girls. Like you said
absolutely.
that you thought about it when they came into the world that hey, this is the experience I want to create for them. So
Mm-hmm.
talk about puberty and so so we can be clear
Yeah,
on what puberty is.
absolutely. And that's actually a good segue because you're right. Like puberty can mean a lot of different things to people.
Mm-hmm.
When we hear puberty, I think people automatically go to the menstrual cycle.
Right.
But it encompasses so much more because there's so much that happens with a young lady's body before she even has her cycle. So what
Mm-hmm.
does that look like, right? We're talking about your body changes. We're
Yep.
talking about how to maintain when your body is changing, how to have proper hygiene, all the things that lead up to before you even talk about a cycle. And so it's important that you know what's going on, especially with hormonal changes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hormones are a real thing. They
Yep.
cause imbalances and they cause you to act differently. So, even with that being said, I got to a place where I named my girl. So every month I'm like, my girl's help me. Her name is Crusilla.
Mm-hmm.
And we gave her a name because it is a real thing. And it's really just a way to softly let everybody know, give me a little bit of grace, right?
Mm-hmm.
Give me a little bit of grace. And so we even talk about things like that at the boys' puberty party
Mm-hmm.
because they need to understand all the things that lead up to having a cycle. And then we break down what is a menstrual cycle, what can you expect? How do you take care of yourself? And what help and resources are out there for you? And so
Yeah.
that's really, we do a full circle moment where we talk about it all and not just the menstrual cycle.
Miss Mitchell. Yeah, that's
Hmm.
awesome.
Hmm.
Like I didn't even realize that you went into such detail about that because you're right. I have a friend now whose daughter is 9, if I'm not mistaken, and when she started talking about attitude change and everything, I was like,
Absolutely.
sounds like she may be going through puberty,
Hmm.
but just not knowing because it's her oldest daughter, first
Hmm.
oldest daughter, that's the first one she's experiencing that with.
Correct.
Again, like you said, when we were growing up, we didn't have conversations. We didn't know till we knew. You know what I'm
And then
saying?
figure it out.
Yeah, yeah, like,
Yeah.
I did
Right.
have an attitude for 12 days straight.
Right. Exactly. I did.
Yeah, yeah. So that's like, I never would have come up with it. You know
Hmm.
what I'm saying? Like the idea for you to just even like when the girls first came into the world for you to
Hmm.
have that idea
Hmm.
simply because it's needed.
Yeah.
It's definitely
Absolutely.
needed. Yeah, it's
Absolutely.
definitely needed. When you talk to them about it, what did they think? Like your girls is who I'm talking about. When you talk to them, were they excited? Like what were their thoughts on it?
So I am very transparent with my girls, right? So this was not, even with doing the party with their friends, the first time
Mm-hmm.
that we did it, it was not something that was totally new, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because I let them watch. They have seen since they could understand what was going on. And why?
Mm-hmm.
Because it's natural, right? And I
Right.
remember not too long ago, I might have been probably a little cranky, and Jayla said, "Oh, mommy, is it that time of the month?" And Jay was taken aback, and he was like, "You don't ask your mama that." I said, "She can totally ask me that." I
Yeah.
said, "And yes, it's coming." And I said, "Am I being a little bit much?" She's like, "A little bit." So it helps you to reel in because otherwise, maybe you just
Mm-hmm.
think mommy is just crazy when that's not the
Mm-hmm.
case, right? Sometimes
Right.
you really just fight with these hormones that you can't do anything with. And
Right.
if we have the conversations, and it's also a teachable moment for parents, right? Because
Absolutely.
the parents are in there and we're talking to the young ladies about what to expect and what can happen. But
Mm-hmm.
as a mom, you need to know, yes, your daughter might be having this attitude to your point of what you just said, but there's a
Mm-hmm.
reason behind it. Everybody
Right.
is not just, lashing out, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a reason behind it. And we have to stop and take a pause to assess, oh, what is going on? And so for the parents, especially those who are new to a daughter, your first daughter, going into
Mm-hmm.
this, it's a learning experience for us as well. And it has shaped me to be just so much more patient and
Mm-hmm.
forgiving because I can step back and say, okay, that was a little much, but I understand why,
Yeah.
right? And then now we can have the conversation and I can say, hey, Are you feeling a way? And we can talk through it, as opposed to her feeling isolated, me feeling
Mhm.
like you being disrespectful with intent, when I know that that's really not the case, especially knowing who my children are, right?
Right,
And so it's
right.
a teachable moment for everybody when we talk
Mhm.
about it holistically.
Yeah. What has been the parents' response
Oh
to that?
gosh.
Like, how do they respond? Like, what's a takeaway that they've had?
That is probably one of the main reasons why I decided to go ahead and launch Poise,
Mhm.
because of the parents, because so many of them came to me saying like how much their girls took away from it. I had
Mhm.
a mom to text me maybe 4 or 5 months after the first one, and she
Mhm.
said, because of your party, my daughter was prepared. She knew
Mm.
what to do. She wasn't afraid. And it was because of that.
Yeah.
So obviously that almost had me in tears,
Yeah.
because, you have the party, you're trying to do the work, but sometimes you may not see the aftermath. And so
Yeah.
for her to confirm that she knew what to do, she wasn't scared, it wasn't a thing, and she just went on about her business. Because what we also do, I make it an emphasis to, they get what's called an emergency kit. We
Okay.
go through what to put in there. The box
Mhm.
contains everything you need. It's small, it's discreet. We teach them to put it in their backpacks to carry it
Mhm.
around with them. That way, if you're not with your parents, you know what to do. And so, in that regard, she knew what to do,
Yeah.
because we, really just emphasize what you need to do, what is the preparation piece, and what it looks like, as opposed to just telling them. We have real examples and tangible evidence in front of them as to what they need to do. And so it was just really heartwarming to see that. But I think the parents for sure were like a huge part in why I decided to go ahead and launch, aside from being obedient, for
Yeah.
what I felt I was being called to do.
Yeah, that's good. Because sometimes, as parents, especially raising girls,
Hmm.
um, so I'm like you, straightforward. Let's just talk about it. The birds and the bees. I don't think I ever said birds and bees. It's
Yeah,
just
we're going to get into it.
yeah. Let's say the real words.
Yeah.
Let's really talk about it. But some parents find it hard to
Hmm.
have certain conversations, especially when it comes around um I'm gonna just say use the acronym POISE. All of the
Hmm.
things you said POISE means. Some
Hmm.
parents they don't know how to start the conversation. They don't know how to
Right.
talk about self-esteem. They don't know how to
Hmm.
self-esteem. They don't know how to talk about um hygiene. Like
Right.
what's some advice that you could give to like even open the door to the conversation? Because I was thinking back as you were talking back
Hmm.
to when I first started puberty. I was
Hmm.
going through changes, but I was afraid. Like I didn't understand it, but I was also like not necessarily afraid, but didn't know how to have the conversation
Right.
with my parent. But
Hmm.
what's some advice you can give to parents? And I'm not just gonna say mothers because there are
Yeah,
some fathers who
absolutely.
take care of their daughters. Your husband is an active father.
Absolutely.
What's some advice you can give to even have the conversation, or even just start the conversation? Because of course some of them are not gonna children. I'm saying are not gonna
Absolutely.
start the conversation.
Absolutely. And I would say two things about that first, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yes, fathers are included. And at the last puberty party, I did invite a young lady who her mother passed away. And
Mm.
so it had been on my heart to just invite her as a guest.
Mm-hmm.
It was comped, and he is a dad taking care of
Mm.
3 girls. And
Yeah.
so yes, fathers need the information too. But from an advice perspective, the first thing I would say is to create a safe space, right?
Mm-hmm.
Children need to know that it's safe to do so.
Yeah.
And if that means working up to the safe space, not just coming out of the gate with it, that
Yeah.
means cultivating and creating those relationships where your children feel safe first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just start very small, because you know your child, you have to assess, where are they? Like, some children
Mm-hmm.
are a lot more mature than others.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that has to be like a parental decision in terms of, where is my child? Do I have to start very small, or can we really just have the conversation? But I think
Mm-hmm.
first and foremost, the safety has to be there, because
Mhm.
children, even from their parents, you have to know that you can go to your parents for anything. You have to know that they can be your landing spot and a
Mhm.
safe spot to land. And if they
Yeah.
don't have that, they're not going to be okay with opening up about this
Yeah.
subject matter. And then I'll also go back to the party itself, right?
Mhm.
How you leading up to that? It's why another reason why it was created, because parents
Mhm.
sometimes struggle with that. Before we even do anything about puberty, menstrual, the whole nine, we
Mhm.
create an atmosphere that is fun, that is relaxed, so
Yeah.
that when we're ready to talk about these things, the children
Mhm.
have an ear and can receive what we have. And
Yeah.
that's the same thing that parents have to do. You got to create the foundation and that environment that allows you to, have an inviting persona for your children to want to even talk to you.
Mhm.
So I think
Yeah.
first and foremost, you got to make sure that your house is right, that relationship is right, so
Yeah.
that the child will be comfortable opening up to you in that regard, especially, about something like that.
Yeah, yeah, I totally agree. And I agree with what you said about safe space.
Mm-hmm.
Also just developing relationship.
Yep.
I don't think we really understand, and I'm just saying in general, like parents in general, that
Mm-hmm.
we understand the importance. We build rapport with
Mm-hmm.
coworkers, we build rapport with people outside of our home, but we don't understand the importance of building rapport with our children so that they
Absolutely.
can know that they have a safe space to speak with us. Um, I I'm laughing at myself because I was blessed to well, Eris was blessed to have a pediatrician who
Mm-hmm.
prepared me for every phase,
Mm-hmm.
everything. This was when we were living in Louisiana.
Mm-hmm.
But her pediatrician prepared me for every phase. All right, so when she gets to this grade, you have to pay attention to this. When
Mm-hmm.
she when she would do the what is it, well visits,
Yeah.
tell me, okay, so now you need to
Mm-hmm.
start preparing for this.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's also important
Absolutely.
to have a pediatrician, physician, whatever it is that's going to
Mm-hmm.
prepare you for kind of get you ready. Because I think she prepared me a year in advance,
Yeah.
before,
Absolutely.
like, yeah, she started
Yeah.
to prepare me a year in advance. And I was going to ask you, like, again, I said about building rapport with my child,
Mm-hmm.
knowing the questions to ask because her pediatrician prepared me.
Mm-hmm.
How would you suggest? Because we hear safe space. A lot of
Yeah.
people don't know what a safe space is because they've
Mm-hmm.
never been in one. So,
That part.
how would you identify, or like, what are some tips that you can give parents to create a
Mm-hmm.
safe space for their kids?
So this actually is a perfect segue into the book that I'm working on.
Yeah.
It's called Cupcakes and Connections: Essential
Ooh.
Conversations Between Mothers and Daughters.
Mm-hmm.
In there, I talk about creating safe spaces, how you
Mm.
can do that.
Yeah.
And there's a litany of topics that we need to be asking our children, getting off social media, putting the phones down to
Yes.
create those relationships. So I would suggest, which I talk about in the book, of
Mm-hmm.
finding things that your child is interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have to know what the child is interested in
Right.
first. So that means talking. That means understanding your child, right? I'm not going to take my child to a football game if I know they like ballet, right? And vice
Right.
versa, right? That's just a broad example. But creating an environment that feels warm,
Mm-hmm.
you don't come out of the gate with the conversation.
Yeah.
You do something that makes them feel, oh, this is familiar. And then
Mm-hmm.
you start leading in with small questions, and then you build up to those, tougher questions or the things that might be hard for the parent as well. So a
Mm-hmm.
safe space can be many different things to
Mm-hmm.
many different people. You have to
Yeah.
identify, in my opinion, what safety looks like for your child,
Mm. That
right?
makes sense.
Because that is not a one size fits all, right? That could
Mm-hmm.
just be simply my child likes to snuggle in the bed with me. If
Right.
that is the space where my child feels safe, then maybe that is an opportunity that I would use as my moment, right?
Mhm.
If I have another child who loves to fine dine, maybe we do it over dinner, right?
Mhm.
Maybe we go to the coffee shop, get a little drink, anything that makes them feel safe. It could be after church, right? But just the environment that is welcoming, that
Mhm.
makes a child want to open up.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
also I would recommend, if parents are struggling with how what questions to ask, that you do reach out to a professional who can
Mhm.
help you, because sometimes Google is not the answer because everything is not vetted. So if you don't know what to ask, I suggest reaching out to a professional to get assistance in what to ask prior to. And if you need help, to your point, from like a pediatrician,
Mhm.
helping you with that, you could just reach out, have resources rather, to help you
Right.
navigate that circle.
Yeah. You said what's the name of your book again?
So it's Cupcakes and Connections, Essential
Cupcakes and Connections.
Conversations Between Mothers and Daughters.
Yeah. That's I like that. I like that.
Yeah,
Or they can just buy your book.
that part.
Buy your book, and we're gonna make sure that we put the name on the book, put your all of your contact information in the
Yeah.
description, so they can know how to get the book.
Yeah.
When will the book be available?
So end of May is when we
In
are
the May.
looking to drop.
Oh,
So I will
that's
make
exciting.
sure that we have all the information to share. But yes, you could also just do that.
So, what was that name inspired by? So, okay. So, um, we're not just acquaintances. We know each other.
Correct.
Okay, you and I. So, I see on social media where your husband is involved. He
Absolutely.
he goes to with cup was it donuts with dads. He does
Yeah.
all the
All the
things.
things. All the
So that's
things.
the first
Yes.
thing that I thought about when you said the name of your book.
hmm
So what
hmm
inspired the name of your book?
So on my counter right now was a 12 pack of cupcakes. All right.
Oh,
Was, emphasis on was, we just bought it yesterday. My
oh,
oldest daughter and I can run through some cupcakes. That's my
oh,
guilty
really?
pleasure. And because my husband doesn't have time to bake them, I'll just get them from a local bakery. And
Mm-hmm.
so, again, going back to that safe space, that's a bonding moment for us because we share that same love for cupcakes, right?
Yeah,
And the connections part just sort of, I guess the Holy Spirit just gave that to me as
yeah.
a being for the title, Cupcakes and Connections, because it can be something as simple as a cupcake. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't have to be anything profound. You
Yeah,
know, a cupcake.
yeah,
If you take a cupcake in its simplest form, it's something we like, it's something we enjoy, and it's a bonding moment. And so from there, that's where the title came from.
yeah. That's so sweet. That's
Yes.
so sweet.
It's not only
Yeah.
sweet with these calories, but
Hey, let me tell you something. I get it, but it's more than that. You know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
it's more than just a moment.
Yeah.
Eating, icing, taking the
Yes.
icing out. It's more
Yeah.
than just a cupcake. You get what I'm
hmm
saying?
Absolutely.
It's like you said, it's a bonding experience. So you
hmm
said Jayla
hmm
cupcakes.
Yes. Yes.
What's Jordan like?
So Jordan just likes to eat, honey. But so Jayla is my picky child. I'll start there. So her
Uh-huh.
thing is sweet. I always say she's a borderline pescatarian.
Uh-huh.
And this has been since she was 4.
Uh-huh.
But Jordan, she'll eat a cupcake, but it's not her favorite thing. If she doesn't
Yeah.
have one, she's fine. But Jordan she likes meat. She wants a
Yeah.
steak.
I'm
You know what
talking
I
about
mean? Yeah.
substance.
Yeah, some substance. That's
Yeah.
what Jordan wants, right? And
Yeah.
so very different personalities because Jayla's super
Mm-hmm.
picky. Jordan is not, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so that's one thing that Jayla and I have in common that we share. But then again, with Jordan, it's the fashion. Like,
Yeah.
again, that's something that even though she's 9, I can legit ask her, like, what do you think about this? Right.
Yeah.
And so we share that interest for her.
Yeah. Yeah. That is so sweet. And I could
Mhm.
just picture her posing.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So Jayla is the oldest.
Yes.
Jordan is the youngest. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. I can just picture her posing, like in her little fashion and all this stuff.
Absolutely. Since
Yeah,
been, what did it say? Since been?
yeah,
Yes, that's been since
yeah,
she could do, and she would change clothes like this was as a toddler, 3 and 4 times a day,
yeah.
just changing clothes. I remember she put on my pajama pants one day. She may have been like 3, but she made it
Hmm.
into like this little one shoulder little
Oh,
dress, and I was like, that's low key kind of cute, right?
right,
But but sad of my stuff, right? But
right,
no,
right.
it's always been there, and that goes back to not just looking at it and saying, "Oh my God, that's so cute." I
Yeah.
started to see that she had a talent for doing hair, for styling, and so
Hmm.
I began to put her in spaces that would help her grow. For her
Hmm.
birthday, not last year, but year before last,
Hmm.
reached out to my hair salon and they agreed to let her do like a mini internship. And
Really?
so, yes, so she was able to go to work for a few days. They let her shampoo, but just even putting her in that environment where I know she will thrive says everything, right? And we
Yeah.
try to create those experiences for them to help them
Hmm.
to thrive in whatever it is that they want to do. And that's just one example of how paying attention to your kids,
Yep.
seeing what their interests are, and not
Yep.
just writing it off as something that's cute, right?
Right.
Because who knows? Like that could just be where God calls her later
Hmm.
to just go on and do great things in that area. So, it's really just paying attention and trying to cultivate those experiences that would help them,
Yeah.
whether they use it or not.
Yeah, and you mentioned about self-esteem, so I'm assuming that neither of them have you experienced self-esteem issues because going through puberty, you mentioned poets and the
Mhm.
acronym going through puberty. That's the time where you could start to have self-esteem issues. Just
Absolutely.
being in school in general,
Hmm.
the I say the spirit of comparison, comparing
Hmm.
yourself to other girls because at the ages that they are their bodies are changing. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Where that
Hmm.
you pick up weight, you lose it. You
Yeah.
just different things. So
Hmm.
have you had that experience with them?
On Friday night, we did our first
Oh
experience.
wow,
Actually,
wow.
and so with my oldest, and what one I had to take a moment to
Mm-hmm.
assess, right? Because this was still new. I've
Mm-hmm.
talked to him about it. We talk about it at the puberty party, but this was in real time.
Real time. Yep.
And so the issue that she was having, I said, do you remember at the puberty party when we said your bodies would start to change?
Mm-hmm.
And she paused and she said, oh, is that what that meant? And I said,
Mm,
absolutely. So it was a teachable moment for me because now I know I need to expound even further
right.
besides just saying, you might grow breasts. We
Mm-hmm.
need to go even further about all the little changes that could happen with your
Mm-hmm.
body. Because once I connected it to that, then she remembered, oh, we did talk about that. You did say that
Yeah.
the body would change. Now,
Yeah.
that said, it's in real time. It doesn't mean that it's going to make it any better, especially if you're
Right.
having like a moment of self doubt. But we
Mm-hmm.
just had to take a pause, work through it, and find positive ways to reinforce what was
Yeah.
going on. So,
Yeah.
yes, literally
Oh
Friday.
wow. Wow, you said real time. And
Real
see,
time.
it's one thing standing in front of a group of people,
Yeah.
coaching and educating.
Yeah.
But then when you have, like you say, real time experiences
Hmm.
in your house, and now you have to put all of that into action.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and one thing that I know I experienced is taking my emotions out. Like when my daughter would get these different experiences
Yeah.
going through puberty, I would have to
Hmm.
take my emotions out. When she cry, I want to cry.
Yeah.
Like, like what I do. You get what
Yeah.
I'm saying. Even when you have the
Absolutely.
tools, when it
Hmm.
happens, like you said, in real time,
Hmm.
it's like where did the tools go?
Yeah.
But you have to like just take a moment and just kind of collect yourself basically
Absolutely.
because you'll tend to, well, me, I'm personally
Yeah.
go down that rabbit hole. Like, no, let me get myself together. Let me apply.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that
Mm-hmm.
poise.
Yeah.
Let me
Bring
learn
it
what
on back.
apply what I learned at the puberty party now. Yeah.
Yes.
So that's very, very interesting. And I want
Yeah.
to go back to Jordan because you said that Jordan is into fashion.
Mm-hmm.
We all know that you did your grandma ever make y'all wear slips?
Girl, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So since Jordan is into fashion, like like teaching girls to wear
Mm-hmm.
undergarments,
Mm-hmm.
if you're
Mm-hmm.
wearing a skirt, so your panty line won't show difference,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm talking about your underwear line won't show
Right.
and different stuff like that. Is there
Mm-hmm.
something that you're discussing with Jordan while she putting her garments together?
We actually do, because I'm a big
Yeah,
stickler for the panty line. I don't care if
right.
you
That part.
9 or 29. So,
Mm-hmm.
and they have things that are appropriate for little girls, like the little boy
Right.
shorts that hang a little
Yeah.
lower under the bottom so that it's not just making this print. And, my girl got a little junk in the trunk. So we got to
Mm-hmm.
be mindful about the fit, right?
Yeah.
Because she gets that from my side of the family. But we are definitely with both of them. We talk about what undergarments to wear. Now we ain't wearing slips, but
Right.
but we do talk about what's appropriate, whether it needs to be a nude bra or a white bra.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Like we do all the things, and I think those conversations again you have to have them because
Right.
if you don't do it, who is? And you don't want them going out into the world not prepared for basic things. And all these things we're talking about, they're basic.
Right.
People
Absolutely.
make them seem like this big mountain, but these are very basic life skills
Mm-hmm.
that we need to know. And so we having the conversations over here, honey. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm just an open book with them and super transparent because I want them to feel again that I'm that safe space that they can
Yeah.
come to. And there's no subject for me that is off limits. I might have to reel it in for appropriateness sake, but
Mm-hmm.
there's no subject that they cannot come to me with.
Yeah. Yeah. So they pretty much feel comfortable coming to talk to you about anything.
I would say so. Now, I
Mm-hmm.
am the disciplinarian, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I do have to still remind them that you can still come to me if you know you've made a mistake, but
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna have to preface it with promise me you're not gonna get mad so I can get my mind right. Not it doesn't mean you won't be in trouble,
Yeah.
but at least it gives me my grounding. Like, okay, let me pause because you can come in hot depending
Yeah.
on what it is,
Yeah.
but it just helps me to know, okay, get yourself together because this is a moment. And sometimes you have one time to make a child feel away, and that's it.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
I don't want that to be the moment
Yeah.
for me, right? And I do a lot of apologizing over here because
Woo.
I firmly believe they have to know that as an adult, you will make mistakes. You will continue
Mm-hmm.
to make mistakes. But if
Yep.
I have enough integrity as your mother to come to you to say, I'm sorry, I'm only posturing and positioning myself for how they need to act in the world. It's okay to
Mm-hmm.
apologize. It's okay
Yeah.
that you make mistakes. You just have to accept responsibility and take some accountability. So,
Yeah.
we're just trying to teach all the things so that they can
Yeah.
be, good human
Yeah.
beings. People
Yeah.
want to be around them,
Right. Right.
that part.
Yeah. And it seems like they would definitely represent your family well.
Hmm.
They would definitely
Absolutely.
represent your family well. Do you consider what you're doing is creating a legacy for them?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And even more so with the Poise brand, right? Because it's
Mm-hmm.
breaking that curse. They
Yeah.
are very much a part of it. When I say a part, I mean working. They helped work
Mm-hmm.
the last event, right?
Mm-hmm.
If it weren't for them, some of the things like I probably would have had to hire out. But they are excited about it, and I don't know that they understand fully that it's legacy building.
Mm-hmm.
But when they look back on it later, they will understand and appreciate it even more because
Yeah.
they had the ability to help along the way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So for sure is legacy building. And that's another way that we bond. We
Yeah.
bond over that. They like the spirit of entrepreneurship. They like to see mommy working.
Yeah.
And they're excited about it. They ask about the things, and that makes me feel good, and it makes me want to keep going because I know that I'm speaking to them. I'm speaking to their age group, right? And I'm
Absolutely.
speaking to their parents through them, so that I can continue to just legacy build and leave that. That's what I would like to leave, for them.
Yeah. Do you think that you would ever take it on the road? Like, so you currently reside. Where do you currently reside?
In New Orleans. So we're in New Orleans
Right.
now,
So South
and
Louisiana.
South Louisiana.
But you're
And yes,
from,
from the good old Shreveport, which is northern
yeah. So do
Louisiana.
you ever see yourself taking, when I say taking on the road, like I kept seeing, like I kept having a vision as you were speaking, like you doing this in multiple locations, not just New
Yeah.
Orleans. You
If
see
I could
yourself
show
going
you
there?
my vision book,
Yeah.
you will see that.
Yeah.
You will see
Yeah.
that. Um, it's in the works.
Hmm.
And out the gate, even when this was just the initial thought, I
Hmm.
said I have to take this on the road.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not a if, it's a when, and I'm
Yeah.
building the blocks that I need to put in place in order to do
Hmm.
that
Yeah.
because it's necessary.
It
And I
is.
do have cities in mind. I won't say them right now,
Hmm.
but yes, to that end, I definitely will take it on the road because I
Hmm.
have a mission to reach more young ladies,
Yeah.
and I can't do that just central to New Orleans.
Right.
And it's one thing, like the thing that sets us apart is the experience.
Hmm.
We talked about earlier, I'm a registered nurse. I was a women's health nurse for many, many years. It's
Hmm.
one thing to take your child to a hospital, sit in front of the board, talk about it, go home.
Yeah.
Cool. That goes on now. It's not a new idea to teach this.
Right.
It's the way that it's presented that
Hmm.
is new and that sets us apart. And I think it opens up an entirely different avenue for how we teach our girls, how we
Yeah.
present things to them. Because I had a mom not too long ago, I was at a business expo and we were promoting poise.
Hmm.
And she said, I'm so happy that you're doing this because we just left a class at hospital, I won't say the name,
Hmm.
and my daughter was traumatized when we left.
Wow.
Traumatized. That's the word she used. So going back to people will remember how you made them feel.
Hmm.
They're not leaving traumatized, okay?
Right.
The smiles that you see on social media are real. This is not fake. That is the feeling. And that doesn't even do justice for the vibe that you feel actually being there. So it's a
Yeah.
very real thing. We create an environment that gives safety, gives security, and it gives fun. Like they want to be there. And
Yeah.
that's what I want to do. And I know that we can do that on a larger scale. And I
Hmm.
will be working towards that to actually take it on the road.
Yeah, yeah, and you mentioned about the smiles on social media. They
Hmm.
were, yeah, smiling. I was thinking, guys, they had this much fun talking about their menstrual cycle,
Yeah.
but no, this is before I
Yeah.
knew.
Yeah.
This was before I knew that it was
Hmm.
like you gave the acronym, like it was more than just about their menstrual cycle. But
Absolutely.
they were dressed nice. Did
Absolutely.
you have a dress code
I
or
did.
okay,
I
okay?
did because you
What
need to
what was the
ride for the
dress code?
moment. Um, and I did not say specifically you have to wear this. What I did,
Hmm.
for moms or dads, once you
Hmm.
registered, then you received what that dress code was. And I just
Hmm.
basically made a mood board for
Hmm.
examples to give inspiration. And
Yeah,
so, people understood the assignment. They
yeah,
came
they
just
did.
for the occasion.
They did.
And, I put it here because the other thing with fashion, it is individual, right? It is
Right.
what you consider, what I consider to be cute
Hmm.
or to make me feel good might not be the same thing. So I would never
Yeah.
say you have to wear this, but
Hmm.
I put out what it should look like and you interpret that in your own way. But they understood the assignment.
Yeah, they did. They definitely understood the assignment. I was like, okay,
Yes.
man, look at y'all.
Yes,
What you
they
pretty
understood.
party.
Yes, they
But
understood.
no, I'm saying that because like you cleared it up. Like that was my mindset when I first. I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, they're just talking about their menstrual cycle, but you talked
Hmm.
about more than just that. And I think that
Absolutely.
just even looking at the videos and the photos,
Hmm.
it almost felt like I was there.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? It was like,
Mhm.
like this is really you. I knew that you just didn't rent out the meeting room at the library and just
Right.
throw something together.
All
And I
right.
think that that's what's so special about it. Like you said about how you make people feel. You
Right.
made them feel. I'm sure you made them feel like they were worth it.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Because that experience that you gave them, it's not an everyday experience.
Not at all.
Um, we can go to fancy restaurants. You get what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like,
Mhm.
I don't feel like cooking tonight, so
Yeah.
restaurant it is. You get what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Sit down,
Absolutely.
fine dining and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
But still not get an invitation to an event where the event requires that I dress. You know,
Mhm.
um the at the event they have Yves Saint Laurent,
Yeah.
Chanel, like
Yeah.
Gucci, all of that.
Mhm.
Everybody doesn't have like they don't have that experience, and you gave them that experience. That's why I was like, oh, we gotta talk about this
Yeah.
because like
Absolutely.
this right here, this is definitely major. And like I said, I see where this is just this is just the beginning for you.
Mhm.
It's
Absolutely.
only the beginning. Like I said, even as you were talking, like I could see a vision of you doing like doing this in multiple cities, not
Mm.
just in New Orleans.
And I
I
received that as
really
confirmation, friend. I
yeah,
received that as confirmation because that's
yeah,
not something that I broadcasted, right?
yeah.
The only person, obviously, my household knows,
Right, right.
my business coach knows, and that's it,
Yeah.
right? And so I definitely received that as confirmation because, as you know, God gives messages and
Mm-hmm.
confirmations. You just have to be ready, willing, open to receive it. And for
Mm-hmm.
you to
That's
say
true.
that, not even knowing, it
Yeah.
just it helps me to stay motivated in
Yeah.
what I know I need to do, right? Because
Yeah. Because you know me, I'm gonna ask, when
yes,
is it? What what we doing now? That book better
yes.
come out next month too.
Oh, listen, now it's
What's
on
up with
it's
that
on
book?
record. It's on record.
Yeah, what's up with that book?
Yes,
Let's talk about that book. But I really
yes.
do appreciate what you're doing. Like even I was inspired by it. Like and even just to hear you talk and break down everything, I'm even
Mhm,
more so inspired by it and want just people in general just to hear about what
mhm,
you're doing
mhm,
because it's not common. Like I've seen some events put together, they talk about your period, they teach you how to put a I go there. They teach you how to put a
yeah.
pad in your panties and all the other
Mhm.
kind of stuff, but it's more to it than that. And
Right.
and that's something very special. It's
Thank
something
you
very
so much.
special. And for you to want people. So I've done events before. Let me
Mhm.
just like I've done events before, and
Right.
you have a set budget for an event that you're doing,
Mhm. Mhm.
and you try to stay within that specific budget. So
Mhm.
sometimes it's like you have to cut costs in one area, or cut costs in this area,
Mhm.
um, just kind of cut costs in just to kind of make the budget work or whatnot. And then
Right.
it becomes a very cheap event. I'm just being honest
Absolutely.
because of the experience, it becomes a
Mhm.
very cheap event. But the fact that um, you know, I feel like you said like people need to you said about you remember how you made them feel. People
Mhm.
just need to remember the experience, and if you're
Right.
going to do it right. And I
Absolutely.
feel like just watching looking at the pictures and the videos, you did it right. you
Thank
you
you.
you presented that event as if and I'm going to put the link to your social media
Okay. Please do.
in the description,
Okay.
so that people can see what I'm referencing. But
Right.
just looking at the pictures and looking at the videos, you you didn't just put your money into it, but you put your heart into it. Um,
Absolutely.
Meaning that you didn't give those parents and their children any less of an experience that you would have wanted for you and your children. And
Right.
that's why I was so impressed. Like, oh yeah, yeah, this was intentional. It was
Mm-hmm.
very, very intentional, as with everything that you do. You
Well,
know,
thank you.
yeah, because I feel like everything that you do, you make it a luxury experience in general. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not, and I want to make it very clear
Hmm.
that it's not, it's a difference between luxury and bougie.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
you get what I'm saying? Like
Absolutely.
bougie to me comes with a type of arrogance.
Mm-hmm.
But I've never experienced any type of arrogance with you. It's
Mm-hmm.
always been you leveling up every time. You know what I'm saying?
That's
In
it.
humility. And that's the
That's
reason
it.
why I'm sure that your girls are humble
Mm-hmm.
individuals as well. Yeah,
Absolutely. And I love
yeah,
that the leveling up part. That's all it's
yeah,
about. Even going back to the Lux brand, it's leveling up. Leveling up with your
yeah,
mindset, leveling up with the relationships and how you nourish that, leveling
yeah.
up in your motherhood journey, leveling up in your
Oh
marriage. It's all about leveling up. And with
yeah,
Lux, it's just elevating all of those things, right? And
yeah,
when you elevate all of that, you can present yourself in a luxury way, right?
yeah,
Because it starts with the mind. You can have all the things, but if mentally you don't believe who you say you are, then you won't
yeah,
present that way, right? And
right,
so it starts with the mindset. But I love that because that's all it's ever been for me is leveling up. How can I
yeah,
level up? And that also means pulling other people in while I'm leveling up.
absolutely.
Very intentional about that. Every vendor, my last post for the party, I listed
Hmm.
out every vendor, all women, all black owned, very intentional about
Yeah,
that. Some new to the business world, just like I am. It's leveling up. It's leveling up together because we can
yeah,
all get it. But if I'm doing this thing, why not bring somebody else with me? Right?
absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. And who you didn't mention, so your husband is a how do you what is it like a sous chef? What is it?
So he is a pastry chef.
A pastry
Yes.
chef.
Yeah. And little kudos on that because he went to school. He's a attorney by profession.
Yeah.
But last January, he went to pastries. Well, actually, he
Yeah.
went to school 6 months, 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Okay. This was
Ooh.
no joke. Yes. And still went back to the law office after three
Oh wow.
and did all of that. And I was taking the trash out for 6 months. But we made it happen. And he
Yeah.
graduated valedictorian. So,
Yeah.
he didn't just go, he did it
Yeah.
and elevated his experience there, and came out on top.
Yeah. What were the girls able to experience any of his pastries?
Oh, absolutely. Yes,
Yeah.
he would because he had homework.
Yeah.
So
I'm
off
saying for the puberty party.
so he did not do anything for the puberty party, which I
Yeah.
got flack from after the fact. But
Uh-huh.
see, here's what people don't know, right?
Yeah.
People are asking, "Oh, can you bake me this? Can you bake me that?" He doesn't have the time.
Right, right.
I live here. I know what your
Yeah.
schedule is like. I knew what I wanted, and I'm very specific in what I want.
Mm-hmm.
So even though he would have probably killed himself to make it happen, I know what's really going on.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't even ask that of him
Right.
because I'm going to want what I want. I'm going to want the very specific items that I asked
Yeah.
for, whether
Yeah.
you tired or not. And so I didn't even
Right.
put that on the table. And I
Mm-hmm.
think he probably wanted me to. But again, I feel like time and season I
Mm-hmm.
would love to collaborate. I've had visions about this, so I know it's coming
Mm-hmm.
eventually to where I have the event and he is the pastry chef for the events.
Yeah.
So it's coming, but like I told him, time and season. Like this was not that just because his schedule is so jam packed.
Yeah.
When was you gonna bake a cake and some
Right.
cupcakes and some cookies? Like when? When
Right.
were you gonna do that?
Right.
So that's the only reason. Otherwise, I absolutely because it's not just his work. If you know him, everything about him is leveling up. He does not do
Yeah.
anything,
Absolutely.
half baked, quote unquote. He's
Yeah.
going to go all in. And so he would have taken the time to try to do it. But because
Uh-huh.
I know, it's
Yeah.
deadlines, timing,
Yeah.
we just
Yeah.
saved that for another time. But his pastries
Yeah.
are delicious. And I can't wait to see, what that collaboration looks like in the future.
Yeah. And the reason why I asked that is because that's a testament to what you said prior to my question. when you were saying that you outsourced,
Mhm.
different women, business owners and different stuff like that. Like
Mhm.
you could have, you know what I'm saying? You could have
Mhm.
utilized the pastry chef in your home,
Could
but
have.
you chose not to. You get what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And you
Uh-huh.
outsource from other people. And
Mhm.
like I said, the reason why I asked that question is because that's a testament to what you just said. Leveling other people up, bringing other people
Absolutely.
along. And of course you're not gonna inconvenience him or put no more
Mhm.
on him. But my point was, you could have
Mhm.
been well, even in his willingness, you could have been
Absolutely.
well, reached out to him and said, "Hey, I
Absolutely.
need ABCD," but you didn't.
Mhm.
You utilized
Mhm.
other people and you brought him
Mhm.
in on um, the vision the Lord gave you. And
Absolutely.
I believe that whenever the Lord gives us a vision, the song Jacqueline Carr has, "Everything
Mhm.
Attached to Me Wins."
Oh, absolutely.
I
Yep.
believe that anytime the Lord is in it,
Mhm.
whoever is attached to you, when you're on assignment for the Lord, they're gonna
Mhm.
win as well. So,
Absolutely.
and again, that's the reason why I brought up
Mhm.
that question,
Mhm.
because that's just a testament to who you are in general. You get what
Mhm.
I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, and before we wrap this conversation up, I wanted to
Mhm.
go all the way back to something, because we talk
Okay.
about the look life and we
Yeah.
talk about luxury. But what
Mhm.
we did not talk about is, you said you grew up in a single parent home with a
Mhm.
single mother.
Yep.
Um so everything wasn't always luxury. You get what I'm
Not
saying?
at
And I
all.
wanted to
Absolutely.
I wanted to make sure that that was clarified, because
Mhm.
some people can grow up in a single parent home and still have a luxury lifestyle and still
Mhm.
experience it. You get what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Mhm.
Um, but I want you to explain. You don't even have to go into full detail, but just kind of
Mhm.
talk about your upbringing, like
Mhm.
uh, the difference between then and now.
Yeah.
Basically,
Absolutely.
while you're saying
Absolutely.
that you want to break generational curses, you want to create a different lifestyle for your kids.
Mhm.
And again, let me put this out there.
Mhm.
This is nothing against Miss Teresa.
Absolutely.
You
Yeah.
get what I'm saying?
No,
This is nothing
100%.
against her.
Mhm.
This is about this is generational.
Yep.
You get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
I'm more than 100% sure that the lifestyle that you're living, the life that you're living, is the lifestyle that she prayed for you to live.
Mhm.
You get what I'm saying? So I wanted to do that
Absolutely.
disclaimer first before you started talking.
Absolutely. And I was
Yeah,
gonna say that as well, because
yeah,
I don't have an issue talking about those things, because again, these are conversations that you have to have, right? You have
yeah,
to learn from past experiences, and coming from a single parent household, I would not say, I would never characterize it as a struggle.
right.
But what I will say is this. I believe in therapy. I think everybody should have a therapist of some sort.
Absolutely.
What I learned later in life through therapy is that while I would never characterize my upbringing as a struggle, what
Right.
my therapist kindly pointed out is that you have a lot of trauma that you didn't even know was trauma.
Mm.
So when you don't know that you've been through trauma, you act in a
Mm-hmm.
certain way. And
Mm.
so once I started to unpackage those things, then it made me a better person. And we're still a work in progress over here. But I've
Absolutely.
grown leaps and bounds from who I was, right? Even at, Grambling, right? That lost person, still trying to figure it out, as we all likely are. But
Yeah.
growing up in my household, I always say my mom did the best she could with what she had.
Yeah.
And I don't ever think we went without, right?
Yeah.
But definitely we weren't taking trips out of the country and flying. I took
Right.
my first flight in undergrad that I paid for.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? My
Yeah.
mom just took her first flight, 3, 4 years ago when the girls got baptized, that
Mm.
I paid for,
Yeah.
because I wanted her here. And
Yeah.
so I said, would you be willing to fly? And what happened is she ended up flying from Dallas with my brother. And
Mm-hmm.
it was because I wanted her here for that. And so being able to do like what she did, I'm sure she would agree, praying for the lifestyle. And she always tells us how proud of us she is.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still those things where I've learned because of ABCD experience, I
Mm-hmm.
can do this a little bit different with my
Yeah.
girls. And that's okay, right? Because again, you want to do better than before. And
Mm-hmm.
that's all it is, that not coming from wealth. Everything that my
Right.
husband and I have built, we built together. Like
Right.
we did not come from wealth at all. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's just really, you have to appreciate those
Absolutely.
experiences and just use them as tools to learn and grow. And I think that's just what I've tried to do with my girls, to
Yeah.
learn from the experiences and just see how can we shape the conversation differently and move in a
Right.
different way.
Right. Right. And I wanted to kind of talk on that because or for you to address that
Mhm.
because a lot of times it can be
Mhm.
assumed. Um
Mhm.
for an example, Eris, she's a little fashionista too. So
Mhm.
she told me it may have been a couple of weeks ago. She's like, the in my school they think I'm rich. And I was like, so what was making them think that? She said because they say my clothes like how I dress,
Mhm. Mhm.
the shoes that I wear, and I kind of processed it. I'm like, and she also said they think I could stay in a mansion,
Okay.
and I was like, oh, and I kind of processed it like how we perceive
Mhm.
um like where people live, what they drive,
Right.
different things like
Mhm.
that by how you dress.
Mhm.
You get what I'm saying? And when I say
Absolutely.
we, it's in general,
Mhm.
like you perceive because of how she dresses, shoes she wears, oh, and because her hair is always different.
Right.
I said, you do tell them your mom is a
Right.
cosmetologist, right? Oh yeah, they know that. They know that's
Yeah.
what she's like. Yeah, they
Oh,
know.
we good. We
Say
know
less.
that. Yeah, we got
Say
it.
less. You are not in the salon every week. Make that clear.
Yeah.
You somewhere in a chair or sitting out on the floor in between my legs getting your hair done.
Exactly.
So yeah,
Exactly.
but no, like it's really it made me kind of think that
Mhm.
people perceive
Mhm.
a certain thing by how you dress and how
Mhm.
you look, but they have no idea, what the background.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so that's the
Absolutely.
reason why I wanted you to kind of touch on that because it can be assumed like, oh, because I kept saying the word luxury.
Mhm.
And when a lot of us hear the word luxury, we think of Atlanta Housewives. We think
Mhm.
about the Kardashians. That's
Mhm.
what we think about.
Mhm.
All people who were, I'm gonna just speak on the Kardashians, people who were born into wealth. You
Right.
get what I'm saying? But
Yep.
everybody who lives a certain lifestyle was not necessarily born into wealth. So again, that's why I want to
Absolutely.
talk on that.
Yes,
I like this
definitely.
conversation. This was great
Yeah. Well,
conversation.
thank you. I was so
Yes, this
excited
is a
to
great
be
conversation. I
here.
learned so much because what I thought I knew, you cleared it up.
Yeah.
Because again, I thought the puberty party was again just about talking to little girls, about their menstrual cycle, but
Mhm.
it was so
Mhm.
much more,
So
so
much
much
more.
more. What the acronym? Give us the acronym again for poise.
So
Like what is the acronym?
preparation. So poise is preparation, opportunity, inspiration, self-esteem, and empowerment.
Oh, that's so
So
good.
all the things, not just the
Yeah,
menstrual cycle.
yeah, that is so
Mhm.
good. And what
Mhm.
I didn't know also was that the Luxe Life Collective
Mhm.
was like the umbrella
Correct.
or the
Yep.
parent company. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, and you have um brands that fall under
Mhm.
or companies businesses that fall under that umbrella.
Yes.
And
Yep.
that was good to know as well. What's something else
Absolutely.
aside from Poise that falls under that umbrella? Because you used
So
to be an event planner, right? Are you still are?
yes. Well, I guess so. You know what? Going to back to that. I just had this conversation because I was saying I love events. I love just curating a luxury experience. Like
Yeah,
whether that's my girls coming over for pizza and wine, like I still want to
yeah,
make everything like nice all the time.
yeah.
And a friend of mine said, when I think of you, I think elevated. And
Mm.
so that is the experience that, I try to embody. But with
Mm-hmm.
the umbrella, poise is one facet. The digital products will be dropping later. The book, which will be an ebook or printable version. I
Yeah.
have some journals in the works. So all of
Okay.
these different facets will be under the umbrella of the Luxe Life Collective, which is all about elevating and leveling up,
Yeah.
to your point
Yeah.
of what you said earlier.
Yeah. Absolutely. So you know all about the beauty room. What we do in the beauty room, what goes on in the
Yes.
beauty room.
Yes.
Um, so if we say that we were currently in the beauty room, was
Mhm.
something for me. So for me, one thing that I've done in the beauty room, I've cut my hair, did me a little
Mhm.
pixie. Is this a pixie bob? I mean, look,
Yes. It's given.
got me some color. Um, that's something because I'm going through a transformation in my career,
Mhm.
in my personal life, and all of that.
Yes.
So
Okay.
what who is the person that said when a woman cuts her hair, um, she's getting ready to change her life? Was
I
that
don't know who
Coco
she
Chanel?
is, but you know what? I think it might be. Now we need to fact check
Yeah,
that, but I think it was Coco Chanel.
yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
You
Mhm.
know, and it might be like when you Google it, they may put Elizabeth Taylor,
Yeah.
just different people, they just,
Yeah.
it might even be Maya Angelou, but, but you know what I'm talking
Perhaps.
about. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
what you have going on in your beauty room?
So honestly, I think my beauty room, I've been having a beauty room moment for, I would say, the last 3 or 4 years, maybe five now, right?
Mm,
And that is because my huge transition, as you know, my government name is Tia J. Williams. But
mm-hmm,
I didn't start that way.
mm,
Um, and so that for me is my transformation.
okay,
And when I had to go back and ask my mom, trying to get her blessing, which, at that point in my life when it was done, it was
yeah,
with or without the blessing, but I was happy to get it. And she's the
yeah,
one who pointed out that when we're talking about biblical terms,
mm-hmm,
when people changed their names in the Bible, it was because God was getting ready to elevate them.
ooh,
And so, yes, that would be my beauty room moment
oh,
because it's
wow,
about going back to the word elevation.
yeah,
So that is what is happening
I,
in my beauty room.
I love that, I love that, and I forgot. To be honest,
Good.
I forgot. Because TJ,
Yeah, there you go.
as you know,
Good.
because I'm good about giving somebody a nickname. I had totally forgot, but
And you
that
know what?
is
That's
so beautiful.
and I'm not gonna say, oh, it's great that you forgot, but the person that I am now, I'm living
Absolutely,
in who I know I am.
yeah.
That person was not authentically me.
Mm,
And I never felt that. And I don't know if you knew the story. Like, this was not just oh, this is cute to do. Like, I think I was
yeah.
6 when I asked my mom to change my name.
Oh wow.
So, if as a child, and what do we do? Oh, girl, you don't know what you're talking about. This is something we're going
Mm-hmm,
to get over. It
mm-hmm.
never went away.
Yeah.
And I later began to understand. One of my coworkers pointed out, we were in like a director's meeting, and she said, she did. She was the first person who ever said, which people probably thought it, but she said, that name doesn't suit you. And she
Mm-hmm.
said, the reason why it doesn't connect with you is because there was no real meaning behind it.
Mm.
And that's true. I'm not going to tell the story of how I got my name, the first
Yeah.
one, but
Yeah.
there was no real intent with purpose behind
Yeah.
that name. And
Yeah.
when she said that, it hit me like a ton of bricks, and it made so much more sense because I could not understand for the life of me, from a 6-year-old child, why I
Yeah.
felt this way all of that time. And
Yeah.
so when we go back to talking about elevating, when my mom confirmed that, once people in the Bible did that, it was because God was elevating him, that just
Yeah.
cemented everything for me. And I knew then that I was doing what I needed to do.
Yeah. So what is Tia? It's Tia Janae, right?
Hmm.
What does that mean?
Of God.
Of
Hmm. When I
wow.
put it all together, all of it went back to God.
Yeah. That
And
is so
even
beautiful.
even that was beautiful because, and that's me breaking down a lot of things for
Yeah.
Tia and Janae. But
Yeah.
the core of it goes back to God.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think I say this a lot to my friends because I'm just blessed to just have um phenomenal women as friends.
Hmm.
And I think that I think you have a lot to say. You get what I'm
Mm.
saying? Like a lot to say. Whereas I think it needs to go beyond cupcakes and conversations. You get what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Because just that alone with your
Hmm.
name change, that's a full sermon. You get
Absolutely.
what I'm saying? It's a
Absolutely.
full sermon. Um, because when you said about the intentionality about
Hmm.
naming a person, I think about how intentional I was when I named my daughter
Hmm.
Aries Joy. I was
Absolutely.
so intentional about naming her, and when I think about like when I chose her name, like okay, and what is in air?
Yeah.
A female that
Absolutely.
inherits riches,
Hmm.
joy. Joy that's beyond happiness. You get what I'm saying?
Right.
And
Absolutely.
and she lives up to her name.
Absolutely.
You get what I'm
Absolutely.
saying? So that kind of
Absolutely.
gave me chills when you said that because um she definitely lives up to her name.
Yes, and it's
Yeah,
important. It's important.
yeah,
Like, what is in a name?
yeah,
I didn't know because there was no intentionality behind having it. You
yeah.
know, it'd be different if, oh, your great great grandmother was a civil rights leader and da 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 da. It carries so much weight. It wasn't any of that,
Mhm. Yeah,
and which made sense as to why it never resonated with me.
right.
And my husband actually he surprised me for my 35th birthday
Hmm.
with the name change. So I didn't even know he was working in the background to get it done legally.
Yeah,
But he presented that with me. So, this is government official, not just,
yeah,
social media cutesy.
yeah,
It's who I am and it's who I feel that I am. And I can embody her now that I'm in that era, if that
yeah,
makes sense.
yeah. And you said that this is government official, but spiritually, I don't even you probably don't even understand like in the spirit realm.
Mm,
You get what I'm saying?
yeah.
And that's like a whole nother conversation. But
Yeah.
the name change, what it broke off in the spirit realm. You said that the 35, that was what 5 years ago, and you said
Mm-hmm.
that you felt a change,
Yeah.
the transforming
Yeah.
since 5 years ago. Um, you had no connection to their name. And I
Mm-hmm.
remember the story behind your birth name, but
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you realize just yet by changing your name what that broke off of you in the spirit realm. And
Mm,
I'm sure when you change your name, you notice a shift in your entire life.
absolutely.
You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's very, very important. I'm glad that you even brought that up because it's important that we are mindful what
Mm-hmm.
we are naming our children. And
Absolutely.
look, and if you name your child whatever you name your child, nobody is condemning you for
Right.
but being mindful of what you're
Mindfulness.
naming your children.
Absolutely.
And because you changed your name, and like you said, um, Tia Janae means of God.
Hmm.
You get what I'm saying?
When it boils
Yeah.
down to it, yep, goes back to
When it
God.
boils down to it, it
Hmm.
goes back to of God. And I'm sure that you felt a closer connection to God when you changed your name. I'm
Absolutely.
100% sure. Yeah.
Absolutely. All the
Yeah.
things change. Like even just having, I can't even describe to you the feeling of calm that I
Mm,
felt just
yeah.
having it. Because mind you, even in the workplace, after we graduated from Graham, going into the
Hmm.
workplace, my name
Yeah.
was T. Like
Yeah.
no one called me that name because I set it up that way. And I was like, this is
Right.
a chance to start anew. So I'm just gonna go by T. So that was
Yeah.
what I was, right? And so for a lot of people, they really didn't even really know what the previous name was because I
Yeah.
intentionally did not go by it. But
Hmm.
to have it sort of signed, sealed, and delivered, if you will, there was
Yeah.
just a certain level of peace that I cannot even explain that happened with that transition.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
will be forever grateful, for my husband for just
Yeah.
working in the background and making that happen.
Yeah. Yeah. He knew that that's something that meant a lot to you.
All the things.
Yeah.
Amen. Lucy.
Amen. Thank you so much for
Amen.
joining me, girl. This was
Yes.
good. This was really,
Thank
really good.
you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. And we'll talk soon. Okay.
All right. Have a good
All right.
one.
Bye bye.
All right. Bye.